And I know already that the synagogue in Westchester has already visited and had a chance to be in Jerusalem. And I think more of us are trying to figure that out. And in Seattle, we're looking forward to having a ton with us in Beth Shalom in Seattle next Shabbat. So with that, today's focus is we're going to talk a little bit, some of you may have seen in the flyer, we wanted to talk about the part of the Haggadah, which is VHI שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו. And this prayer talks about two main themes. One is about being worried and the reality that in every generation, people have come up against us as Jews and what our plight, and aware that what happens in every generation. And the second part of it, which Rabbi Goodman will have a chance to teach about, is really about what's the faith and what's the promise that gets us through all of these threats. And I just wanted to name that I think for many of us, this prayer this year, and we'll see it soon when we get to the Haggadah, is really hitting very hard and very deep and very personal, thinking about, just when we thought we were past lots of challenges, and I think we're feeling them a little bit differently in Israel and North America, but we're all feeling challenges, and sort of feeling like, in every generation, there really is true threats. And I think we maybe want to add that not only is it from a time piece, but a spatial piece. From every direction, we're feeling threats. Now, I know in Israel, how many borders are sort of under watching what's going on in the north, what's going on in the Red Sea, what's going on in Gaza, what's going internally. And I think here in North America, we're also feeling from every direction, worried about anti-Semitism from the left and worried about anti-Semitism from the right, and all these threats in every different direction. So not only is it in every generation, but maybe we want to add to this tefillah in every location. One of the things, and I should have said this at the beginning, just actually to tell people the program's going to work today, is we're going to get a little bit of Torah from me from Seattle, a little bit of Torah from Jerusalem, from Rabbi David Goodman, and then a chance to be in smaller groups, to be in conversations across the ocean, and then a little bit of Torah to wrap up together from Rabbi Amirit Rosen at the end, back from Jerusalem. So that's just, you'll know where we're going today. Getting back to what I wanted to share, one of the things that I've been very aware of right now is, as I feel more threats, wanting to know where can I have allies to help me think about how to fight those threats, and very aware of feeling that I have less allies and how important it is to have allies. And I come to this, one of the pieces of background that I'm bringing is, for the past 4 years, I've been part of a Black Jewish clergy group, which we casually call the reverends and the rabbis. And we've been actually trying really hard, in a way that's been really beautiful, to sort of say, explain to me more what your reality is. So the last time we met, one of the members of our group had just come back from 10 days in Israel, and it was a chance for him to share what he had seen on the ground in Jerusalem, and for the Black clergy to really say, explain this to me more. We're trying to understand what you're experiencing. And the rabbis in the groups at different points have been trying to turn to our Black clergy and say, explain to us more what you're experiencing with all the racism that you're experiencing. And we've been trying to see what it is and how do we listen and how are we aware what each other is going through, and realizing that if we want empathy for our own plight, we also need to have empathy for others. And what happens, not only can we increase empathy and partnership, but there's also an element too of actually, maybe we get to a place of deeper wisdom and understanding for our own experience. So with that, I want to share an experience I had with actually that I was just on a racial justice trip through the conservative movement, that there's all parts of the conservative movement, and 20 of us were just in Alabama and Louisiana. And trying to see, we saw several different things and we were there, but trying to understand a little bit what was the experience of slavery here in the US, and how the experience of slavery in the US didn't stop, but actually kept evolving, and what were the new challenges and what it looked like. And I will say there were so many elements that I never thought about in terms of slavery. And I'll give you a couple examples that I'm sure actually must have been part of our own Jewish experience and making me appreciate more, what do we mean when we say avadim hayinu? So one aspect of this that I hadn't thought about it is, when you're a slave, you don't get to keep your family intact. You are not able to say, this is my family, we stick together for whatever happens. But the experience of African Americans here in the United States is that slave owners separated families all the time. Sometimes they separated families to sell a slave, sometimes to make more money. Sometimes they separated families to torture a family. Sometimes it was a way to sort of have, pressure in different pieces, or to remind people they were less human, that they weren't going to be able to be in charge of their family staying together. Right. So if you think about all those resources you need in resilience, how hard it is always, how much more difficult it is when you're torn apart from the people you love. And as I was learning about this, in being connected to the American slave experience, it occurred to me that I'm sure that likely was part of the Jewish slave experience too, right, of being torn apart. And as we think of our dear hostages that we worry about so much, that they've been torn apart from their families and separated. And that is part of like what makes things so hard. So just as I sort of come to conclusion in a little bit, I wanted to share that one of the other pieces of learning from the American slavery experience is that just when you think you've sort of gotten past it, what seemed to have happened was something different and a new form of oppression. So first you had slave trade across the Atlantic Ocean. And when that got outlawed, you still had slave trade within the United States. When that got outlawed, you still had all sorts of things like being able to arrest people for no reason or for a presumed reason or a minor reason and sent them to prison. And then people got leased out as part of prison leasing or convict leasing and still remain slaves just under a new term. Right, and that's still actually, there's all sorts of complexities right now in the US about the prison system and who gets arrested and for what, and what type of sentencing and what's taking place. But what just kept happening is there was new challenges. And so when everyone was given the vote in the United States, you just passed tests that people had to take before they could be able to vote if their grandparents hadn't voted already in the United States, right, which was meant to exclude people who are Native American and Black. And this real awareness as I look at our tefillah of VEHI שעמדה, this idea that in every generation something has risen against us. It's like really when there's people are intent on causing harm, when one form gets outlawed, we just move to another form. And I feel like having had this experience, it's just making me much more aware how true this prayer is and how complicated it is to sort of really be able to understand what are the roots that motivate for us to be able to shift and get out of that paradigm of it just taking a new form and a new form, but actually to a different form of getting to where we really want, which is freedom. So I think we know from the Passover that redemption only begins with telling the story. And that's our hope, is to begin to tell the story a little bit today and think about what parts we can continue to tell. And with that, I'm going to do one quick announcement and then turn it over to my colleague. If you are joining us late and haven't yet done it, if you could rename yourself and add your city, that would be really helpful for us so that we can able to create breakout groups with everyone. So for everyone just coming in and haven't added your city, that would be great. And with that, I'm going to turn it over from some Torah from Jerusalem. And David, I think, yes, great. Now you're unmuted.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Jill. And thank you for putting this verse on the table. והיא שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו. She who stands to our parents, to our ancestors, and to us, that not only one came upon us to destroy us, but each and every generation, there are those who are coming upon us to destroy us, and God is saving us from them. This is a verse that we are saying right quite in the middle of our Haggadah shel Pesach. We are starting to speak about the oppression in Egypt, and then suddenly we are having a shift, because we are saying, listen, we are speaking tonight in the Seder about the oppression of Egypt, but one should know that this is not the only oppression that we went through. One should know that this is not the only kind of oppression, as Jill expanded right now. And therefore, we need to be aware that there is a greater story. And in Leil HaSeder, we need to put ourselves into this greater story. And it started with והיא שעמדה, and she who stand there. What is this? What is she that stands there? So in the paragraph just before, it says that that God promised to Abraham that although his descendants will go an exile, they will come out of it, and they will come stronger than ever. And this is the story of Pesach. This is the story of Pesach, not only being redeemed, but seeing the promise getting fulfilled. In the Seder, we are meditating on the fulfillment of this promise. But the truth is that it is not only about how this promise can be fulfilled. It's not only about the redemption. Having the promise can give us a new kind of horizon, can allow us to think about the bigger picture, to know that even when we are in a terrible state, even when we are nervous and we are under threat, we can see a bigger picture in which nothing is going to end now. We will strive and we will see the other side of this story. And so Jews in every generation said והיא שעמדה, and that helped them even in the most difficult time to think about better times, to know that even the worst thing can happen, but we can still think what will become the day after, what we want to have in the day after. And I want to tell a personal story, a story about my great uncle and my great grandmother. This week we will commemorate 84 years since my great uncle was executed by the British police here in Jerusalem when he was under the duty in the Haganah, in the guard service here in Jerusalem. And he was a 17 years old boy that came here by himself to join and to become a guard, להיות שומר בירושלים, to become a guard and a keeper of Jerusalem. But he came to Jerusalem not only to become a guard, but also to become a teacher. He was part of a teacher seminary. And I want to share with you a letter which is part of a correspondence that he had with his mother, with my great-grandmother, in which, probably in the previous letter, his mother asked him, "Please do not join the forces. We need you for teaching. You are now a student. Be a good student. It will be good for you and it will be good for all of us." And he probably said something like, "You lost your Jewish spirit. You lost your Jewish regesh, your Jewish emotion." And she was highly offended about it, because her legacy was to dream about Zion and to think about the land of Israel. And as a family, they came all together from Warsaw and made Aliyah and came in the 1930s to live in Israel. And she has the memories of her own father thinking and praying for Jerusalem and hoping to go and to live in the Holy Land. And along the many things that she is saying, she's trying to describe like the home that she grew up in and how much the love of Israel was the basic part of this home. And then she's inserting a story that says, once, long time ago, I heard from an old chassid that heard from his father that once they went, a group of Hasidim, very late at night in the city of Ladi. Ladi was the city where the Chabad rabbis came from in the earlier times. And they went near the house of the rabbi. It was the third rabbi of Chabad, the Tzemach Tzedek. And although it was late at night, the light in the window was on. So they sneaked in to see what is happening over there. And they stood just outside the window. And they said that the rabbi was going back and forth. And he's whispering to himself, בכל יום ויום עומדים עלינו לכלותינו. Every day, people are rising upon us to destroy us. Although in our tefillah is every generation, but in this story it's every day. And he was crying and walking and saying, every day people are coming to us to destroy us. And after hours that he was doing so, suddenly they were able to see the smile getting onto his face, and he started hitting his finger and saying, והקדוש ברוך מצילנו מידם. And then God comes and save us all. So here we are hearing a story still in exile, still in Ukraine, how in between different disasters, the hymn of והיא שעמדה gave the words of sadness, but also the words of hope. And I really hope that this year, when we will come to the Seder, we will be able to feel the pain and remember everything that is happening around us, and to cry with it, and to know that for so many generations we were under attack. But also to remember that we do look to the future, and we do know that one day it will be over, and we will be past it, and we want to plan for it, and we want to be prepared for the coming day. So this is what I will take with me to the Seder this year. The story of והיא שעמדה as words of inspiration in our times, but also in the time of my great-grandparents.
You're muted.
I know. Wait. Let me see who from Beth is in there.
Ashkoach. Beautiful. All right, friends. So we're going to try. I tried to break you all into breakout rooms so that we can reflect in smaller mixed groups from around geographically mixed groups to discuss the beautiful drashot from our rabbis, and also have a chance to meet each other and discuss how we're feeling about Pesach. Actually put some questions in the chat that are sort of to guide our breakout room conversations. We'll introduce ourselves, share 2 quick facts about ourselves. Should be 6 or 7 people in each room, and one room is going to actually stay here if I did this correctly. And then the question is, how will you be reading VHI שעמדה this year? And every generation they rise up to destroy us. Will it be different this year than it has been in the past, and how? And what is the promise that you're holding on to that we hope for this year as we think about the promise in every generation as well as the threat, and what gives us strength and what gives us faith. So I think there'll be a rabbi in each of these groups or close to it. I tried to assign it that way, and I'll pop in and make sure that everything is working properly. So I'm going to go ahead and divide us up now.
Shall I begin? So I hope that the breakout rooms were meaningful, and we're going to end this meaningful gathering with the words that end Leil HaSeder, when we say L'shana haba'a b'Yerushalayim habnuya, next year in rebuilt Jerusalem. And a little thought on that. Isaiah, in chapter 54, talks about the rebuilding of Jerusalem. And he says, V'chol banaich limudei Adonai v'rav shlom banaich, and all your children shall be the disciples of God, and great shall be the happiness or the peace of your children. And on this verse, we have the famous homily that we say at the end of Tefillah. It also closes a few of the tractates. Rabbi Elazar said that Rabbi Hanina said, Torah scholars increase peace in the world, as it is said, and all your children, banaich, shall be disciples of God, and great shall be the peace of your children. And then the famous words, Al tikri banaich ela bonaich. Do not read your children, banaich, but your builders, bonaich. Shalom rav leohavei toratecha ve'en lamo michshol. Those who love your Torah have great peace, and there is no stumbling block for them. And in many ways, it would make sense in the passage of Yeshayahu talking about the building of Jerusalem that the word banaich would be read bonaich, as it's just the dots that change the meaning, but the writing, the letters are the same. However, we read banaich, the children of Jerusalem that build Jerusalem. And in many ways, this is what we've been doing in this session. We've been building Jerusalem together because we've been building the bridges towards Jerusalem and from Jerusalem towards those who are living further away from Jerusalem. Isaiah talks about the building of Jerusalem both physically and spiritually. He writes in the verse after, B'tzedakah tekonani rachaki me'oshek ki lo tirai umimchita ki lo tikrav elaich. He talks about Jerusalem, you shall be established through righteousness, you shall be safe from oppression, you shall have no fear from ruin, and it shall not come near to you. So building Jerusalem, as we have been doing together, and in our hope to be in a Jerusalem rebuilt at the end of the Seder, is building Jerusalem with the building blocks that we would like to see. The building blocks of care, of righteousness, of peace, Isaiah talks of everyone, all the children who build Jerusalem as being her children, both Jews and the peoples from around that come and build her in justice and in righteousness. We have been building these bridges here and hopefully strengthening the connections with one another across the seas for a stronger community, for a better future. I would like to end with the way we end this homily in our prayer. May there be peace within your walls, prosperity within your palaces. For the sake of my brothers and friends, leman achai vere'ai, adabrana shalom bach, I shall say, peace be within you. For the sake of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good. May the Lord give strength to his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. It is written that Jerusalem in Psalms 122 is Ir shechubra la yachdav. Jerusalem is a city which is assembled from people coming together. So hopefully in time where we feel so dispersed, in times where we don't know how we are feeling and where we find ourselves, hopefully we've managed to come together, build Jerusalem as Jerusalem's a city that people assemble together. And in that we hold on to the promise, to the dream, a place that so much strife happens within it. We have a dream that strife could be in the future a place where the different hopes and dreams come together and rebuild Jerusalem. So may we be able in this seder to give place to the pain, place to the suffering, and we hope that the hostages will be set free. We hope for an end of pain and killing, and we hope to see the rebuilding of Jerusalem through all those who love her, assembling her together in justice and peace. And we will now hear the song, והיא שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו. And when we hear this video together, I think what is beautiful about this video that we're going to hear is also the different accents of the people that are singing. And just as we are people from different places of the world, building our dreams and hopes together despite all the suffering, may we be able to feel each other's pain and the pain of others, learn from one another, and be able to be strengthened by a common promise and hope. And thank you to all those that participated, to all those that made this happen. Also a special thank you to Rabbi Jeff, who managed to get us into the breakout rooms and brought us all back together. And thank you to all of you who participated in preparing ourselves for Pesach this year.
And our next meeting will be on Sunday, June 23rd. So please save the date and have a happy Pesach to you all. And now with no further ado, we will go to the video. Do you see?
Yes, we do, and we can maybe make it larger.
יש לנו הפתעה הלילה. יונתן רוזל, איפה אתה?
אז ערב טוב לכולם, באמת זה אירוע מאוד מרגש, גם בזמן מאוד מרגש. והשיר הזה, מילים מתוך ההגדה של פסח,
Arranged by Yonatan. yourself. והיא שעמדו לאבותינו, והיא שעמדו לאבותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד, עומד עלינו לכלותינו, עומד עלינו לכלותינו.
והיא שעמדה לאבותינו, והיא שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותינו, עמד עלינו לכלותינו. שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עומד עלינו לכלותינו, עומד עלינו לכלותינו. אתם צריכים להכיר את זה. לה 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 לה.
Happy
Shalom.
Passover, everyone.
Chag kasher v'sameach. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
שמח. שיהיה עוד פסח.
חג פסח שמח.